it's hard for me to rock my own music. And I'm like,
wait a minute, you gotta hold on.
I gotta be in the zone when I hear that. That means it's showtime for me. Like, all right, let me make sure I'm ready to kick this off.
Oh, bro, who did this track?
It's my childhood homie, Rio. He down in Tampa. No, he down in Atlanta right now. But we grew up together.
Shout out to Rio, man.
Yeah,
shout out to
Rio Manolo. He said, I got you. And he blessed me with a track. He blessed me with the beat, the track, engineered it. I had a few edits and tweaks. He came back in like 30 minutes. I said, yeah, that's it.
It's literally the theme song to my, what day night does Snowfall come on? Wednesday nights? Yeah, it was literally the theme song right after Snowfall. Yeah. All I really, I was like, yo, I was going to hit you up for the live version before you even came on it just so I could listen to it at the gym and shit.
Yeah.
Man, I really didn't even know where to start the pod, but I feel the most appropriate spot is to ask you what your thoughts are on the passing of Bray Wyatt.
I think I just got asked that last night. I got asked that by a good friend. I'm not going to name drop anybody else, but I was sitting next to another wrestler as well, too. We went to see the film The Creator. And I think, in short, my three stages of like thoughts about this was like, first of all, check on your friends. That's first thing I thought, because you never know. And like I said that in the utmost respect, not speculating. There's been a ton of news with all types of coverage going on, so I wasn't like hinting towards anything. I didn't know anything. I didn't care. The bottom line was just check on your friends.
Right.
The secondary thing that hit to me is like, with that statement, then I kind of like put my foot in my own mouth, because when I said it, the first thing I thought was like, check on your friends, because when I say you don't know what somebody's going through, I think a lot of people think as that is like a tangible thing, but certainly like a mental health thing. He's been very adamant, very upfront, very transparent about really just what he was going through with Brody Lee's passing.
Right.
He was never shy about that. I remember when he asked for his release, and then he took some time, and folks had all this to say about Vince or creative decision, all this other stuff. Right. And I said, like, he just, he has a family. He recently had a baby. He said he is struggling with the passing of his friend. If he wants to take time to work on his mental health, we should all be celebrating
For
that.
sure.
You as a black man, I as a black man, that's not something in our community.
Yeah.
We don't talk about mental health. And like men in general, especially black men, but just for men, because obviously, but we don't. It's not something that's discussed. So I praised him. I'm like, listen, this is the man that's saying I need some time to take a step back from the things I love or the passions or the dreams I chase, because I'm struggling with this one element of my life. By all means, so to hear that he passed and how it's passed, I first of all, I said that Triple H put out the tweet. Yeah. Triple H putting out the tweet tells me a couple of things. It says that, and he said that, the Hall of Famer, his dad, reached out to him and said, so that means
Rotunda,
that.
IRS, he was IRS. He was honorary member of the NWO.
Yeah. So I'm like, this is handled with a level of diligence here, which means that the family was all together or had already communicated, and they were ready to communicate it beyond their circle, which means like, what is the best way and responsible way for us to handle this?
What do you feel about that? And it was so. I agree with everything that you said. It is very. I mean, in today's climate, you just never know. Everybody is going through something, and if the least that we can do is send that text to just say, "Hey, how are you doing?" to somebody that we love, then absolutely buy. Like, what else? We're wasting time doing anything else, right? And plus, you just never know, man. And somebody who. It's such a gut punch to everybody in that cares about that industry and or this industry, the professional wrestling industry, like me and you do. And Bray meant something to me very like he. I was I admired his work. I admired his mind. There's a lot of times where I was talking to Peter when we were first starting this, and I was showing him Bray Wyatt promos. Yeah. And I don't even know if Peter knows this. He passed away last week. Yeah. And you know what? But for me, I feel like he was beyond in every sense of the word. It wasn't just professional wrestling.
Yeah.
It was, there was something that was beyond.
It was very. I mean, I think the gimmick had like a gravitational pull, but the person I also think as well too. There's a couple of things I make with that as well. And obviously, just to make sure that everybody understands that we understand what happened because of the COVID complications is how he passed. So, you know, either way, whether mental health, whether it's something, you know, not mentioned or this, it's still very unfortunate. I'm 36.
Sure.
So I say he's 36, and I'm like, that hits super home. And I was talking to some of my friends probably like a month ago, and we were talking about some of the friends we lost through the way. And it was like, man, like 36, is it time to start like it's gonna sound very irresponsible here, but is it time for us to start taking our health very serious? Because when you're in your 20s, you're just like, man, I drink turn up forever. Man, this hangover, I'm going to eat that. It's all good. But, you know, you get in the 30s, the getting up starts getting harder. The body aches.
It's overnight, too.
Oh, for sure. For sure.
How do you think Terry Funk got his wrestling boots on?
Terry, hey, I said this on a podcast last week, and I was being very like, in all sensitivity, we did Bray Wyatt, but I was like, Terry Funk been wrestling like 3 Bray Wyatt lives. Like that dude,
bro, that's not
like Terry Funk is what doctors never want to refer to because the doctors are going to recommend, hey, listen, if you want a long career, don't do this, don't do that.
Yeah,
and they're gonna be like, but Terry Funk did. They're gonna be like.
You can never reference Terry Funk, the doctor, at all. Like Terry Funk, so I was a big, first and foremost, man. Rest in peace to Bray Wyatt and Terry Funk. Those are 2 people that have had a profound impact on my life and my creativity, and we just want to give our condolences to the family.
I want to make a quick statement about Bray too, because you brought up something that's very important. There is a synergy with Bray in wrestling, and it's unfortunate when people pass that you truly understand the impact. And as a wrestling enthusiast, I recognize Bray whole career and the trajectory. To the point that we knew he was going to be special, he became special, and then we realized we was witnessing something we may never witness again.
Oh, for sure.
But when he passed, for folks and the outreach and the coverage from mainstream media, from folks who were not wrestling enthusiasts, understood how impactful he was. Folks throw around creative geniuses to a couple of different names in a row. I like him or hate him, you say Kanye West. But the fact that Bray Wyatt name is in there, and then Matt Hardy's another name that's thrown in there as well too. But when you talk about creative geniuses, you talk about these folks who impact not only their main genre, but beyond that.
That's what I'm saying.
Everybody wanted to be a Hardy boy, and then Matt Hardy went out there and they did a bunch of different stuff for the indies and beyond, Kanye. But like Bray, I never really. I guess I never really fully appreciated his impact outside of wrestling because when he passed,
see, that's the thing.
Folks were chiming in like, "What?"
People feel it,
and it's like this dude. Like either I went with my kids or I went with my partner, and when he came out, it was magical. I think his interests alone were things that like concerts wanted to emulate. They wanted that type of energy to kick off their concert or some type of break or something like that. And I've seen concerts, and I want to say it's either The Weeknd or somebody, but when I was in, I said, this feels like, I wasn't trying to be a wrestling mark, but I was like, this feels like a Bray Wyatt. Like it feels like, the whole Wyatt family intro. Like, this is nuts,
I think there's a reason why I was showing you that. You know what I mean? There's a reason why I was attempting to kind of like show you what I was inspired by to even get into this. This is a true story. The thing, you're exactly right. I feel like, honestly, they're not going to actually understand the true genius of him until, I guarantee, bro, it's going to be how he's remembered when people really start to put together. It's a lot deeper than what people believe. You know what I mean? I think the circle, the definition, like, bro, here's how it. I met, so for me, I've always been a professional wrestling fan. Like, that's my cousin. He's known me my whole life, right? We used to, at my Aunt Mary's house in 4th, 5th grade, used to beat the shit out of a DDP little. We was still
not my man DDP.
There's this little DDP. So look, and they beat each other up. So I mean, but look, wrestling's been a part of me for my entire life.
Yeah.
Even if I've talked about it publicly, if I've shared opinions on it online, if I've been a silent supporter, it's literally been one of the driving forces in all my creativity. But you know, I didn't watch it consistently. I haven't watched it when we talk about future events, right? I love the industry, but you know, I'm not as consistent with tuning in as I used to be, right?
Yeah.
But the way my I guess my viewership or my love of the game has played out in my adult life is, you know, when they get my money, they get my money.
Yeah.
And there's been a couple of times. Number one, I remember when The Rock came back in 2010 or so.
I'm like the worst as a historian.
Yeah,
but if you talk about when he come back
for
with
WrestleMania,
the CM Punk and Cena.
when he came back for that first WrestleMania appearance, but then they lined it up a year out for Cena.
For the Cena.
Right.
Yeah.
I was in there.
Punk
I was in there.
Yeah.
I was in there because I wanted The Rock to beat the shit out of John Cena. Not gonna lie, I was in there. They got my money. They got my dollar.
Yeah.
I fade away at that point. You know what I mean? Just go back to basketball. Go back to MMA. But I keep a tab on it. And in my algorithm, I'm hearing the name Bray Wyatt over and over and over again because I'm more into the theatrics of things. So if you can get me to make me give you my dollar, essentially.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's not my job to suspend disbelief. It's your job to make me, essentially.
Absolutely.
And because I love the industry, I will.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So anything that anybody in my age bracket would say that they felt about wrestling at one point in time, I felt, and I stayed away. You know what I mean? But when it came to it, I'm back. Here it is. Boom. So I kept hearing Bray Wyatt. I seen the brother. I feel like I went back. This was like 2017 or something. Went back, looked at some stuff, and I didn't really connect at that time. I had a one-on-one moment with Bray Wyatt in Tampa Airport. I ain't never tell nobody about.
Okay.
And this was probably about 2017. And it was the oddest thing, man, because it was just me and him in airport security.
Hold on. When you say be more specific. You say airport security. You saying like TSA
we going
pulled you
TSA.
to the side.
Yeah, no. Nah. We was going through TSA. So all right, we're going through the security checkpoint.
Yeah.
But at the Tampa airport, it was like I was catching the late flight, maybe like 6 p.m. Getting through there, and there's nobody out there.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, bro, like a white rabbit running through a maze, somebody comes scooting up to me, almost like they were floating, smiling, tattoos exposed. That's the reason why I knew it was him. Because it's not like he ever tried to hide who he was walking through, because he's from Tampa. And, you know, I know a lot of people out there. So it was like me and him, I see him, he sees me, he recognizes that I recognize exactly who he is.
Yeah.
And even though I'm not a fan, like wasn't as familiar with his work at that time, I just said, hey, nice to meet you. He was like, it just gave me this smile, very friendly, very, very embracive. Like he did not shy away from that moment at all.
Yeah.
Didn't ask for a picture. I just told my cousin, who was a huge wrestling fan, that I met him. And I think that's important because the second time that they got my money, I'm sitting there scrolling through YouTube. I might have just watched a big gold belt video after Snowfall, and I'm start seeing, all of a sudden on my algorithm, I start seeing this video of Jefferson Airplane playing in the arenas, White Rabbit playing in the arenas with no backing track, and it's just dark, and I'm watching these videos, and I just start clicking and clicking and clicking.
Yeah,
bro. I can't thank a person like Bray Wyatt enough.
Yeah,
because he actually allows me to still love the industry. in a very real way, because he was able to use his raw creativity in a way that most people don't ever really get to see, whether it be the industry changed them or somebody didn't like your idea or what have you. And I think that you're hearing that from those athletes that were able to be so fortunate to work so closely with somebody like him, man. Yeah. It's kind of deeper than rap to me. It's kind of weird. I might not be sitting here having a conversation with you if it wasn't for Bray Wyatt.
Yeah, I think, like, with so much exposure behind the curtains, right? Yeah. You never heard a bad thing about him. Mm-hmm. And if you did, you would know. Right. As we hear about other wrestlers right now all the time about what they're doing. So, like, I think what we saw is what it was, and what we hear is what it was. Mm-hmm. So, like, truly, I think for the 36 years on this earth, we were fortunate to have somebody to grace us with such, as the person, just a warm spirit, a warm heart, and then as the character, along with the person, somebody who's just light years before their time, and it's sad how death works. This is truly the only part that really is emotional to me about death, is that we never really appreciate somebody till they're gone, and or their legacy is heightened because they're gone. We don't give enough flowers while people are here. And I think with Bray, we do understand creatively how great he was, but now these stories are leaking out about the moments they met him and stuff like that, and it just takes everything. Heightened it. Like if he was at 100, he's at 1,000 right now in terms of just his the spirit around him, the folks he's touched and impact, and it's just unfortunate, man. But I will say that he will be missed. There were never.
Hello.
There were never, and I'm going to quickly just say, Terry, there would never be, because Terry's protege was Mick Foley. Iconic, legendary.
The man.
And if that's the person that was the closest, one of the closest people to him, that literally was his protege. if there was a Obi-Wan, there was an Anakin,
Terry's the Don.
And they were different, which means there's truly the closest to ever be a Terry was Mick. And Mick ain't Terry, which it's only solidified there'll never be another Terry.
Or another Mick.
There'll never be another Mick.
They used to run around. You remember Chainsaw Charlie and Cactus Jack?
Yeah, Do Love. Yeah.
Bro, I was an ECW when I grew up. I was an ECW fanatic. Now, the thing I liked about ECW the most was that it was hard to find. It wasn't easy to, like, I had friends across the street that knew all about WWF and WCW. I went to all the WCW events. My dad took me to the old Baltimore Arena, what have you. Are you good? You need a drink?
We'll give it something.
Hey, let's get it, bro.
Yeah.
So
I was pro WCW, by the way.
I was pro WCW, bro. We're gonna touch on that in a second because I got some thoughts. So, but I've been saving my opinion on WCW for a long time, actually, for this conversation. So, I want to touch on ECW. ECW didn't come.
Thank you, producer.
My man Pete. Yes, sir. We lit. So, by the way, hey guys, we are happy to be back. It is the mind, and as always, I'm not above you. I'm not below you. I'm right there with you. Cheers, y'all. Cheers.
Hey, one time for the team. There we go. We'll reach that one.
There we go.
There it
is. Yeah, get it all connected. So Terry Funk, when I'm growing up watching ECW, and you got to find it. ECW used to come on at like 3:00 in the morning on like different channels every week. But each time you watched it, it was something different. Yeah. It was something completely different from WWF or WCW.
Yeah.
And for me as a kid, I'm like, oh shit! It was like watching Cinemax at 3:00 in the morning at that age. You know what I mean? It was the same thing. But Terry Funk, I remember Sabu and Terry Funk wrestling in the barbed wire match. I can't remember what. I wish I could quote the pay-per-view off the top of my head, but he was old back then. He was old back then.
Yo.
So no, bro, like Terry was at least 50 back then, going through barbed wire, jumping off the top rope, screaming at the top of his lungs, talking to the crowd, cutting the craziest. If you could hear, Terry. If they kept it all the way a buck about Terry Funk and they played some of those promos, man,
Yeah, there we go. Good.
Yeah, Born to Be Wired.
Yeah.
All right, bet. Born to Be Wired. Bro, it's the most violent. I guarantee you probably cannot find it on the internet.
Oh, the network?
Yeah.
It's definitely gone.
Yeah. But what I'm saying about Terry Funk, his promos were raw. They seemed like it was like a crazy, they dropped some lunatic old wrestler in the middle of every era. And he performed and won the championship in every company. Yeah. It made people believe in such a way that you almost forgot, like, Terry, you're batshit crazy, man. But James said to me the sad food joint.
Listen, I think a lot of people say that Ric Flair is the GOAT. And I wouldn't argue this without like a lot of research.
I would.
But there's moments where Ric Flair, even to himself, says that he found it hard to stay relevant. You talk about the era right before he got the Evolution, and it just wasn't working with him, and he just kept jumping and stuff like between WCW. WCW and WWE. Yep. But Terry, I can never recall a moment where I'm just like, yeah, I'm tired of Terry, or this ain't working for Terry. It's like Terry was always like that extra additive to everything.
Terry Funk.
Good rubs, good moments.
Yeah.
And you respected him. He was old. I mean,
Terry Funk said some wild shit though.
Oh, bro. There's a lot of ECW stuff that should be canceled, bro.
That's what I'm saying.
Bro,
that's where I met Terry Funk. Bro, Terry Funk. I saw Terry Funk cut a promo, and I bet you could probably find this on the network somewhere on ECW Hardcore TV. He's talking about how Hispanic in black neighborhoods was fucking up his life. He was talking about politics. Like, it was the wild. I remember being like, if I was a mark, I'd probably be offended.
Oh, nah, shit. Hey, things were different back then. I mean, even if you go back and watch like old episodes of The Office, you're just like,
no bullshit.
You're just like,
so that's James's shit.
Yeah, you're just like, oh nah, like.
All these ignorant ass niggas.
I don't watch The Wire like that though, bro. I don't know what it is, dog. Like, he's always referred The Wire or The Office. The Office to me. Never really watched it.
Pick it up, man. It's good.
Yeah.
It's on Peacock. You got Peacock, so there you go.
You ever work with people that suck at working or just are bad managers and shit like that? You'll get it.
Okay. All right. Yeah, so I got to watch that tomorrow. But yeah, with Terry, man, I mean, the reason why I would say that, the only reason why I would say Ric Flair isn't the GOAT is because he did not wrestle at ECW. So for that, I got to give it to Terry, bro. Terry is timeless. And I didn't think about that until I saw the coverage. Once he passed, I saw people literally like boldface. That's the greatest of all time. And then I'm like, what? And then I thought about it. Yeah. And then I thought about it. And then I really thought about it. I said, Terry's the GOAT, man.
Mount Rushmore is like a wild thing because, like, you can throw your Rocks, your Cenas, Austins,
that's what I would
Flair, Taker, Hogan. It's a lot of folks. But then, I mean, we talk about this every once in a while on the show, each and every Thursday, 8
Your
p.m.
wrestling podcast.
Mm-hmm.
My man.
But it's the metrics. It's just about what do we perceive as the best impact, wins, losses, championships, relevance, all those sorts of different things. Because, like, you easily can make an argument here. You say, well, Terry has to be up there.
Yeah.
He has to be up there.
How can you have but
Bruno has to be up there,
that's another era. I would be like, I don't give about Bruno, man. Like, Bruno was defending his man. Like, I'm like, look.
You say Hogan has to be there. Hogan, like,
all right, you got to give it to Hogan though. Hogan got to be up there. I would probably. Who would you say your Mount Rushmore is? I mean, who would you say your Mount Rushmore is, and what would your criteria be?
I'm going to look at particularly the era that influenced me. So if you were before, I'm sorry, but I'm looking at folks that like was in my era that I just seen work at the highest rate And then I also think about, like, as a nerd, you know, I'm laser focused in this, but I'm looking at these folks that also impacted the folks that casually watch or didn't watch at all. So, like, I think of somebody like Shawn Michaels. Shawn Michaels just, for what it's worth, when it came to the big event, WrestleMania, he showed up each and every time. The aesthetic, the presentation, the match, the storytelling, the skill, the longevity. And then you see how he connects with the crowd.
Nah, Sean's.
And then you say, what about the folks who don't watch wrestling? You hear the theme music, they know. You talk about Sweet Chin music, they know. The Heartbreak Kid, they know.
Degeneration X.
They know. I mean, come on now. And like, I know this is going to catch some heat. Shout out to my man Brian Waters of the Wrestling Realm. He's going to, you know, he's a big on Hart, Bret Hart.
Shout out to Owen though.
Yeah, shout out to Owen as well.
Man.
But like, yeah, I wouldn't put Bret. I think Bret is probably one of the best wrestlers, but like not on my Mount Rushmore. Because like when listen, this catches heat because I'm going to keep it strictly wrestling, inside the ring wrestling. When I talk about like the best wrestlers in the world, like the ones who go out and do it, yeah, I say Bret Hart, I say Dean Malenko, I say Chris Benoit, and I say Chris Jericho. I'm talking about these folks.
In-ring technicians.
In-ring workhorses.
Yeah.
These folks that
Demon
work with any scale, anybody. It don't matter. They're going to put in the work. And then right outside of that, I put Kurt Angle. Right there. If not number 4, he's right there.
You would put, wait a minute. Hold on. So say that. You said Chris Jericho, Dean Malenko.
Chris Benoit, and Bret Hart.
Yeah, I can't argue that. I can't argue that.
Kurt Angle,
but Kurt Angle,
right
bro,
there.
dog. Like, that means that you gotta have the Mount Rushmore of wrestling has to literally be 10 people.
Oh, 1,000%.
There's no way.
It's gotta be something else. You gotta go starting 5, or you gotta go like all American lineup or something like that.
Because I used to think, all right, my Mount Rushmore was who I was the most entertained by. Stone Cold Steve Austin was my number. Like, that was my guy.
1,000%.
But then it starts to deviate a little bit. So now,
hold on. So let's just stick with that. Who are the
Stone
4
Cold Steve
people
Austin,
that
The
most
Rock,
entertained
Hulk
you?
Hogan, and John Cena.
Okay.
Because I promise you, when I came back, I said it just like that.
Yeah.
I mean, when you talk about the most entertaining, who made the most money?
So nobody from WCW outside of Hogan. That means you ain't messing nobody from.
No, WCW. I got sour feelings towards WCW. Eric Bischoff fumbled one of.
Also Ted Turner.
Bro.
Also Ted Turner. Bischoff for sure, but
Ted Turner. But we understand what Ted Turner really was in the grand scheme. He's Ted Turner.
Yeah.
Eric Bischoff. And I love Eric Bischoff.
Me too.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But WCW was so close to my heart, bro.
And I cried the final episode.
And I went to the only wrestling shows I went to growing up.
Starrcade.
I didn't get to go to Starrcade, and I'm glad I didn't because that's where we about to go. We about to go there right now. But I went to Baltimore Arena back when it was Baltimore Arena. Now it's Royal Farms.
Now it's something else now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Pharrell and Kevin Durant invested into it.
Okay.
Yeah. So they got that whole that joint got this whole new feel, whole new look now.
Legendary arena.
The wood seats are gone.
They're gone.
Folks.
All right. About time. They was there in 1997. So I went to WCW. I went to 2 WCW events in 1997 and 1998 at Baltimore Arena, and this is in the prime of WCW. So, as history would have it, actually, I was outside, right in the thick of things, man. You know what I mean? Yeah. So, Starrcade 97 has never, ever sat right in my soul. Actually, I feel like it's one of the biggest fumbled bags in American history.
Not when you're a kid.
Well, when I'm a kid at first, of course, as a kid, you sitting here, you're watching.
Yeah. Oh, you look back, it's cringy.
Bro, no.
Oh, it's cringy.
When you think about WCW folding, I think you can actually pinpoint it to that particular night in DC, because for my money, the greatest storyline ever told had just played out over the last year, which was the NWO versus Sting. Mm-hmm. And all they did on that night was completely fumble the bag and And I don't know if you remember. So they had Sting versus Hogan. They had built that up for a whole year. Now, at that point, this was like the biggest thing, I'm telling you, in the world.
Yeah.
Like, there was not, because they had built up the NWO. Like, no matter how we talk about, like, if it was right or wrong, how they played those politics, the NWO was on fire as a heel company. I mean, how many NWO shirts you see going?
No, NWO is easily the biggest fraction of that time.
Bro,
it's not even
close.
Yeah.
But the only thing that they had to combat it was this one individual.
Yeah. Sting, the hero, he carried WCW on his back. And as much as NWO was over, Sting was over.
Bro.
Over.
But that's why it's so beautiful. Like, when I think about it in retroactively, it's like, bro, how did they, because the NWO would come out at the end of every show and beat up everybody. It didn't matter who the good guy. I mean, Ric Flair, DDP, the Giant.
Went over.
Roddy Piper.
Yeah.
Every single weekend at the end, or every single Monday at the end of that show, they were getting their ass whooped. And now these were the biggest stars before that. So essentially, what they did was build this heel organization and book them in a way that was completely unconventional, by having them squash everybody for a year. And the one person that they hadn't done that to was Sting.
And Goldberg.
And Goldberg hadn't been built at that
I know.
point.
Yeah,
because Goldberg came
just
in
at that era. No. I thought you just mean overall.
That's how, because Starrcade 97 was such a cluster.
Right. Yeah, Starrcade 97. Yeah, Sting.
What they end up doing on Starrcade 97 is they have Sting versus Hogan, and all you got to do is just have Sting go over clean. 1, 2, 3.
Oh, it's...
Bro, they had the fast count.
Yeah.
It wasn't a fast count.
Yeah.
They was trying to keep the NWO book. It was like, bro, because they show, like, there's certain rules. There are unspoken rules in professional wrestling. One of them is on the biggest night of the year, the person that you booked to win this fight has to win this fight clean.
Yeah.
And the fact that it didn't happen, I feel like just ties into, WCW could have easily still been around at least another 10 years before it.
Yeah, listen, I'm going to just go ahead and strongly disagree here. I mean, the booking that night was bad. It was horrific. And as a kid, you love it because Sting won and we got the go home feel good moment that we needed. And also, it was the right way to handle the storyline. The botch counting. Yes, absolutely. And honestly, at least they didn't go home with the NWO winning and they didn't fix it.
Bro, but I feel like when you reveal ass even a little bit, you have to understand WCW was whipping Vince's. No, hold on. How can you disagree with this?
No,
They had Vince McMahon.
Yeah.
They had Vince McMahon with his ass out, about to be done. Nobody else in the history of life has ever had Vince McMahon in the position, in my opinion.
Not even the law.
Not even, it ain't, bro, come on. It's not even, bro, as much as we love AEW, it's not even close.
They're not playing in the same playground.
So when you think about it like that, I think that, like...
But I'm saying this wasn't a night that I felt like was the pivotal night to the destruction of WCW. And although we know that Hogan had creative control with his contract and whatnot, it was to me, it was definitely the David Arquette thing. That's when I was just like...
Bro, I had turned the channel off by then.
Yeah.
I think that when that happened at so for Starrcade 97 to go the way it did, and then for WrestleMania 14 to go the way it did, it made me turn my channel. And then, you know what I mean? Like, that's kind of what I'm saying. Like, Goldberg wasn't really enough to keep me there for what the rise was. Now, if they put the title on Sting cleanly, I mean, they had Sting squashed.
Yeah.
The fast count, not only was it a botched count, they literally squashed Sting in 10 minutes. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. It was a regular count. So what was supposed to happen was they were supposed to do a fast count, which was like kibosh. Like, the referee was in on it. He was a heel.
Yeah, as he always has been.
But what he really did was 1, 2, 3. which is actually a slow count, which made the good guy look like he got squashed in 8 minutes. So I just think that if you are ever, like, if all you got to do is the principal thing, so it's like if all you got to do is lay the ball up to win, yet you shoot a 3 and you get an air ball and you never, or if all you got to do is hand the ball off on the 1 yard line to Marshawn Lynch, you know. And
LeBron passes all the time at the end. He's still going to be considered one of the greatest.
But the Seahawks, remember with the Seahawks?
The exact right pass, though.
Sometimes.
I mean, like, listen, no matter however you try to course correct WCW, they still gonna always be the legendary brand that just did it, and they did it their way.
Bro,
there was a lot of egos in there, and listen, all of them got podcasts now, so Nash ain't scared to talk about what was happening back there. We all know Hogan just did the Joe Rogan podcast, like
they're still balling.
And then Bischoff has his podcast, like, you know, I just think that they had a good run. Because even if they still were running, I mean, like, look at Impact now. They'll be that company that's just basically holding on for dear life on life support. Yeah. You know, trying to stay relevant. And Impact is doing some great things, you know, but they're just still not.
You watch it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. They attract me by good matches.
Okay.
They don't attract me by weekly viewership. Like, if I see something that I'm like, I need to check it out. I mean, I think they handled their women's division. Inclusion, diversity, and I also love that they do intergender. So wrestling's just wrestling there. I think they got good management. I think their staffing, the minds that's involved, all makes it worth destination to watch. By the way, just saw on Twitter that Gail Kim and Awesome Khan are coming both out of retirement for a match for the Impact 1000 show in New York. So you already know if you got Gail Kim to come back, who is you talk about Mount Rushmore women, you got to put Gail Kim up there. Ooh. But then Awesome Khan too, you just like, oh shit, got to put her up there, and then it gets hard. Man, let's I just round off my 4. You throw in Awesome Khan, Gail Kim. You throw in Mae Young, and you throw in China.
Women? Man, I don't... China for sure. So that's the comment. I mean, China was just like an outlier, bro. That was just a different... I would put Mae Young up there. Awesome Kong.
I probably put Jazz right there at number 5. And obviously when Charlotte retires, this shifts everything.
See, but I think the women's division has really taken so many strides in the last 5 years. And because I've been such an in-and-out fan, I don't even really want to comment. I really want to watch Becky Lynch's stuff a lot more. Yeah. I really want to watch a lot of Bianca Belair. There's a lot of people that I want to watch that I've been like meaning to watch. Mm-hmm. So it's like I only want to show what my knowledge is of the sport, because I feel like when I cut it on. So when you told me to watch, there was something you told me to watch, the last pay-per-view, and I bought it when Roman Reigns fought his cousin, Jay. What pay-per-view was that? Survivor Series? No, SummerSlam. SummerSlam. Yeah. And when I cut it on, it was a women's ladder match or something like that. Or was that what it was? No, I watched Money in the Bank.
Oh, yeah,
and it was a
women's
ladder match that was incredible. Now, if I'm watching the show consistently back in the day, and I'm dropped in 2023, I'm watching this ladder match that was like 30 minutes, like, holy shit, man. I actually got to catch up. So I don't want to round out my women, because I feel like there's a lot I need to catch up on.
There is no fall off in women's wrestling.
It's gotten better.
But your belief was suspended?
Oh, yeah, for sure, bro, for sure.
You skipped past the point that you mentioned earlier, where you said wrestlers returning from retirement.
Mm-hmm.
What really contributes to the suspension of disbelief? Is it like the reputation, or is it just the performance of the writers? Because social media is a whole, all of the media and advertisement plays into the.
I think that it's a combination of, so like when I started watching professional wrestling again recently. So this has been in the past year. It started with that scene in the arena. I clicked that, and then from there I started seeing actually what this promotion was, what Bray was doing to announce that he was coming back, and it was pure genius. The way he was able to manipulate the internet and the show and the arena and anybody who was consuming that product, no matter where they were on any avenue, was getting different things. There were people that were getting different things for those QR codes in London that we weren't getting in the UK or in the US, it was just genius. So it was his genius that brought me back to the pure product. And when I got there, there was the Bloodline, there was all the women's, there was LA Knight, there was all these new things that were very intriguing. And it was my man Nagier covering the product. And I was like, yo, he told me to watch it. So I was like, okay, great. So now it's like getting back, like just being more, I like the product today.
I think there's enough pro wrestling for everybody. If you just like the athleticism of wrestling, I think AEW is a good place to start because AEW has some of the best wrestlers in the world.
100%.
WWE gives you more of that theatrical background where characters mean a lot. The wrestling's there. Let's not get it twisted. The wrestlers are there, but the presentation is that because they run as an entertainment company. So the difference is AEW is strictly about wrestling, putting together the best wrestling matches from all of the best wrestlers in the world. They play really wide in their playground, in their sandbox. WWE says we are an entertainment brand. When you look at the UFC, when you look at Bellator, when you look at Top Rank, when you look at Showtime, they look at WWE because they say these folks know how to put on a spectacle. Before you even do the work, it looks like a big deal. You start looking like, God damn, I need to be there. I said this to my man the other day. I said, like, listen, there's a few places in the world I don't think I ever want to go. Saudi Arabia is one because, I don't want to get over there and I never get home and whatnot. And that's not even a joke because y'all remember WWE plane got stuck over there for some whatever it was. And that was all I needed to know. I don't need to be going there because who am I? And I'm like, we don't want him coming back. So, but on the contrary, when they do their shows there, they feel like mini WrestleManias. And I remember one time I was looking like, damn, the spectacle here is like, nah, I gotta do that one time. I gotta be in the building with all the Saudi princes and all their blood money and they going crazy. Like they going wild, but I'm in there though, looking like I'm somebody, you know.
Bro, but that's also something that you have. So as where I went after WWE was UFC. So it's like there's been the Saudi shows. You're waking up at 8 o'clock in the morning.
And listen, Dana White, and like for lack of a better word, Dana White has his heart on for Vince McMahon and now Triple H because he can't build stars. He can't. That's why he begged to get Brock back. He begged to try to get Ronda back at the time. He needed John Jones for the life of him to get his act together because he couldn't build star. You look at WWE, every 6 months, a new star is on the rise. Of course, Roman is the big dog. But then Jay, but then Bianca, then Montez, and then LA Knight. And he's looking like, what is he doing that those guys are doing fake stuff over there? And I got real athletes, of course, this is paraphrasing something that Dana White probably would say, and I can't make none of these stars bigger than life. I can't market these folks like I market a Ronda Rousey, a Brock Lesnar, a Izzy. Yeah.
I don't think so. Dana White, he the star.
No, well, sad enough, but Dana White don't sell tickets. He's the name. You mentioned Dana White, and obviously Endeavor is above all of that. But like,
he looked like a manager at a hardware store.
Dana White. Dana White is the star of that show. Yeah. So the point, what I'm trying to say is that the UFC's model is that stars are going to come, but no pause.
I cut you off right there because Demetrius Johnson was one of their biggest stars, and they gave zero about him.
But that's the thing.
But every fan recognized
he wasn't a draw though. So it's like you got to
because he was small.
He's a bit,
but he was a scrappy fighter. We like that.
We love Demetrius Johnson.
Listen. Nate Diaz, my favorite fighter, sells tickets.
Yeah.
He may not win fights, but he sells tickets.
Sure.
And when you recognize that, you get somebody like a Logan Paul that says, huh? Or Jake Paul. You say, huh?
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, he was going to say, I could beat this guy. But is it worth my time? Because we know the brand that the Pauls have, but is it worth my time to do this? Because everybody calling me out because they know I'm a paycheck, so I got to pick who's the right person. But he realizes that when you look at the UFC, there's certain fights he's not going to be able to get. But the fights that are available, that's that's outside of the contract, or if Dana White allows them to work. You said, like, dog, this dude easily sells tickets.
Yeah.
This man that made the most money he's ever made in a fight ever in that fight.
Well, but the thing is with the UFC is that it's not. So the UFC benefits on their probably not being too. You don't want to. Conor McGregor was the biggest star the UFC has ever had.
Outside of Ronda.
The biggest star that the UFC has ever had. And it almost backfired in their face because it's like that is a power dynamic that can't be controlled. Like with Ronda was a huge star. Conor took it to a completely different level.
I want to know who had the biggest gate.
It was Conor McGregor and Khabib at UFC 290.
That can't be possible.
We're good?
Conor and Khabib. I mean, that's a great fight on paper, but like, does Khabib sell tickets? Heck no.
So,
to the uncasuals, no. But when you talking about stars, you're talking about the folks that's saying, like, Floyd Mayweather was the perfect epitome of a mega star because you had folks literally saying, "I'm going to see the Floyd fight."
Right.
Who is Floyd fighting? I don't know.
Exactly.
Ain't no one ever say, I'm just gonna keep it 100. Ain't nobody you ever met, especially since these UFC is a predominantly male watch sport. So you've never seen a woman come out and be like, yeah, I heard that Khabib guy's fighting. Who's he fighting though? Like, no, but you heard them say names like GSP.
Yeah.
Anderson Silva, the Iceman, you Tito Ortiz. These are the names you like, oh yeah.
With Ronda, but
I need to know who had the biggest gate.
So it was actually McGregor and Alvarez in UFC 205 in Madison Square Garden.
Who else was on that card? Oh, Madison Square Garden is a big deal. Who else was on that card? I forget. Alvarez,
Conor
Jose.
McGregor. Conor McGregor.
Who else was on that card though? Was that the?
It was McGregor versus Eddie Alvarez.
Eddie
Stephen
Alvarez?
Boyd, Eddie Alvarez.
That wasn't a. Oh, Eddie Alvarez. Yeah.
Right.
I'm thinking about what's the name?
Canelo. So it was McGregor versus Eddie Alvarez. Then you had Stephen Wonderboy Thompson versus Tyron Woodley. Khabib was actually on that card as well, but this was like
Poor Tyron.
2000. Oh man. But I think when we talk about building stars, right? If the UFC and the WWE use a very similar process, but no star can be bigger than the brand, so to speak. Where it's like a star, like somebody like Conor McGregor has held them up in a lot of different ways. You get what I'm saying? Where because he's become too big. Where when he goes to fight Mayweather, at that point they didn't even have the infrastructure to really pay him because he went from making a certain, how they pay the people in the UFC.
Yeah.
He went from making 5 to 12,
yeah.
and then he goes to fight Floyd, and he makes 200, and he breaks that down with them in half.
So wait, are you saying no star could be bigger than the brand by like rule, or are you saying like?
I mean
that's their gatekeeper mentality.
I think that it's the business. It's the best business strategy, considering that combat sports you can be very independent now.
Yeah.
Where you're talking about like Nate Diaz, right? You're right. When Nate and Conor fought, that turned into something huge. Nate, from that point forward, said, I'm going to talk to the UFC like I am the shit.
Yeah.
And it paid off for him because he got the fight that he was supposed to. Mm-hmm. Now, what we're seeing is like an independent, the independent wave is here. So if you're under contract with the UFC, though you're an independent contractor, technically you're an employee from the UFC in so many ways, unless you know your ins and outs. Whereas somebody like, Nate Diaz is like looking at the time for like, okay, when's my last fight? You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I think somebody like McGregor, though I understand he wants to be champion again. I'm the biggest Conor McGregor fan in the world.
I didn't see the news today, but it looks like he's coming back
in December or something like that. Yep. So I mean, but for me, bro, we sat here and we ordered Jake Paul versus Nate Diaz, bruh. Imagine if Conor McGregor was like, I'm going to fight Jake Paul.
Oh,
the world would melt down.
It's coming.
The biggest
it's coming.
fight.
Oh, it's absolutely coming.
But if he get knocked out 2 times in UFC,
it's not going to matter.
You don't think so?
No, I just said it. Like, Nate Diaz has not won a fight.
yeah, man.
But
he
can sell a fight. Just like Chael Sonnen. Like, I can't even recall the last fight he's won.
Yeah.
But he knows how to sell a fight that you're like, man. And one time I got so frustrated because he really sold me.
Yeah.
I was just like, man, he gonna lose. But he sold me so much. I was like, but he might win this. And he got packed in the first ring. I was just like, oh my God, I'm just blown.
That's the
the difference though. Like WWE, you can be bigger than the brand. Mm-hmm. And the record goes down the line here. You talk about The Rock, you talk about Batista, you talk about Cena, and then you start thinking about who's this next generation. Roman's not there yet. Roman's very WWE big. I see him, he just did something on, I think, Nickelodeon or Nick Kids, whatever. Mm-hmm. And then Bianca Belair and Montez, they got a reality show coming on Hulu. Okay. So obviously, the stardom outside of the WWE sphere is where you want to, infiltrate. You want to see where you can. Becky's tried it a little bit as well too.
Yeah, it's sort of like pop culture relevance.
Yes, or whatever it is. Pop culture is obviously the easiest thing to infiltrate. But I don't know if country music's waiting for you, go ahead and hit it up. Anything. But WWE, which I think is great, very much embraces the idea of being bigger than the brand. I've never had a sense of envy from Triple H, who runs the company. But you never be like, damn, Triple H came from the same era as The Rock, Stone Cold, all of them, and he just takes the seat back.
But the difference between that is like if Batista, The Rock, or Triple H, or no, Batista, The Rock, or John Cena were to wrestle in AEW, we might have a situation. The fact that those guys
nothing
are so...
for them. Come on, let's talk about Mercedes. Put Mercedes on the table right now. Put Mercedes right now on the table. This is all I want to talk about this week on the show. Mercedes Martinez, formerly known as Sasha Banks, being at AEW, and everybody's like, oh my God, it's a big match, her and Saraya, formerly known as Paige. Yeah. That's the match you want to book, blah, 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 blah. And I'm just like, listen, bro, that's fine. And that's everybody's fantasy. Tony Khan, Bobby wants it. Does nothing for her. Nothing. See? You know why? Because when you in the Disney bag, you good to go. Yeah. Listen, she's on the flagship show on Disney Plus, The Mandalorian. If Mickey Mouse says, hey, we just need you to just do a couple of extra scenes. Yeah. Fuck all this wrestling. She running there like, man, I'm getting this Disney check. And then the other thing I keep telling people is like, y'all forget, she walked the fashion show week. That is a huge deal. New York City does a lot of things, but the one thing that makes New York City really focus in is fashion show week. That's the thing that New York City is at its mercy, besides like the presidential debates that happens at the Javits Center. Right. But like, she's done some things. Her celebrity is up. Huge. Up. Right. And I think she got it. She left WWE. Great little mantle on her resume there. And she went out there and she says, oh, I can get this bread. I can be international. I could do some stuff in Japan, Russell, but I can also hit some markets in Japan, do some things. Obviously, she can come out to WWE if she wants, but hell, why? When Disney's right there, you got Disney, the Mandalorian's on your resume. That's a different bag, man. It's a different bag. It's a different bag, you know. So like, whenever I hear folks talk about like going to AEW, unless it's a passion project, it really does nothing for your brand for me. It's like as a fan, you're like, I guess I would love to see that match, but what does it do for that person? Here's a good example. LeBron James decides that Bronny gets into the league. They play 1 year and he wants to retire. He did it. He played father-son ball. Ice Cube says, hey, bro, what's up with getting on this big 3? Huh? I could take a league minimum and sit on somebody's bench and play 6-man, give them 12 minutes, make more, and probably still do more for my brand. Right. And that's like the scope of things. It's like, what does this do for brands? That's all everybody cares about now. It used to be about contracts. Use contract, shoe contract, boom. Now it's about brands because now folks realize if you have a brand, we'll bring everything around it. Right. Everything around it. It's like, oh yeah, Gatorade with those Nike in there. I don't know, with those Pizza Hut, whatever it is. We'll come around your brand and whatever it is.
Well, I mean, so I'm not gonna shit on Ice Cube, man.
I love. Hey, listen, I love Big Three. I love Ice Cube. I went to a game in Vegas.
I fuck with him, but I get what you're saying. LeBron. Yeah, but LeBron can't. LeBron can't go to the Big Three. It's a little crazy. Like
that's how I feel about Sasha going down. It's like her brain's so high. It's just
that's
like
a good
I don't
point.
do nothing for you.
That's a really good point, though. Like with combat sports, though, it's just like there's so many different platforms that you can go to. Like the UFC is one. The UFC is the biggest by far. All right, you want to, and we're friends and family with people that are in the UFC. PFL is another one. We're friends and family with people that are in one championship. I think in mixed martial arts, it's more brand based now, so where you can kind of like Francis Ngannou, for example, who was with the UFC.
Yeah. Got that deal.
He was independent for a while.
Yep.
They shit on him.
Did he do anything independent?
Bro, he signed the biggest independent deal with the PFL just recently. Like it was probably a couple months ago. So he was by himself, but he was. But that's when they were. A lot of people were coming out saying, "Oh, he has nothing. He doesn't have anything. He has overplayed his card.
Yeah.
He better go back crying to the UFC."
So, okay.
And then he ended up flipping it, getting the PFL deal, and now he's fighting Tyson Fury next month.
Yeah, right. Yeah, but I knew about the Tyson Fury fight, and a lot of bots and
So for me, that was
are pissed about that.
Bro, they're mad about it, but they can be mad. I went to Mayweather McGregor. They were mad then.
You went to that fight?
Well, I was there.
Yeah, me too. I just got the alert on my Facebook like 2 days ago. I was like, Dan.
Yo, we got to share pictures. Bro,
That's crazy.
I was out there. But yeah, I was out there solely.
Oh my God, nothing's gonna top that week ever.
Oh my God.
Oh my God.
I can't even talk about that shit. I'm about to get married next week.
What Vegas? Delete that.
What Vegas? Mayweather, but what? I wanted to talk a little bit. So there's my man Nagier right here, Big Gold Belt Media. I want to change it a little bit. I think that the wrestling conversation, we have a lot more conversation to have. But I found you through reviews of TV shows. And when I discovered Snowfall 3 years ago, I was so, I had to find somebody or bodies or people who were talking about this show because it was the greatest thing I'd ever seen. And I needed to, I was going online like looking, Snowfall review, this episode, and I found you all, right? Tell me how you got into that sphere before we talk about how great Snowfall is.
Yeah. I think I just took time and realized that, like, I was really passionate about movies and I wanted to talk about it, and I wanted to talk about it in a constructive way. I don't like talking over people. I come from a black home. You already know how it is. Everybody talking over everybody. That shit's annoying. That's why none of them even know about my YouTube.
Really? To this day?
Some of them are slowly, but my very close family, they don't because I need them to stay away from it. Yeah, I ran into a buddy of mine, and he tried to tell my cousin. I tried to change the subject so bad. My cousin, me and him grew up like brothers. I'm trying to change the subject, like, dog, get off that. But like, no, I wanted to talk about it constructively, and then I started to meet other critics, other content creators, and then just kind of fueled the motivation. And I just wanted to. And I will say my only regret is wanting to talk about it and wanting to be heard more than I wanted to connect. So once I actually realized what a presentation was, then I realized, like, no, I really do enjoy this. I'm such an introvert, by the way. No one would ever believe me, but I'm so mission-driven on things. Like, I want to talk about it. I want to do it in a way that benefits my viewership. I want to connect with a community, and it just takes me out of my shell, and we just get to going. So I just wanted to do something that I wanted to give with some ethics, my thoughts, my predictions, my perspective with some of these shows. And I also think when you talk about something like Snowfall, there's so many elements to it where you may see the show and the show is the show, but and shout out to Uncle Lou, like there's elements to it that connects to our life, and when you can bring that sort of conversation to it and perspective and folks can connect with that, it just keeps you going. You be like,
Right.
because you be like, yeah, other people feel how I'm feeling. Other people think what I'm thinking. You know, and then I just want the fans. I want the fans to feel that, but I also want like the folks that put the show together. I want them to know that the fans care, and I want to do it in a way that is ethical, something that represents who I am, and something I could be proud of. I don't want to be one of those people that just want to just get out there, be loud, shit talk, just say whatever, trying to get myself over. It was never that.
Right.
I want to be able to just bring a perspective so that these writers, especially right now with the strike, but also the actors also with the strike, can understand that their work, their perspective, their understanding of the subject matter is connecting with folks, and it's like me giving back. So I just went at it, man. I just was like, I want to do something. I don't think as myself as very artistic. I can't draw anything like that. I just can't do. Yeah. Very technical. So I wanted to figure out a way to be to contribute in some of these spaces, and that was it. I was like, I can talk. I guess I could say a few things, and I know how to be very like punctual about things, and I know how to just be present. Yeah. You know, time savvy, all this other good stuff.
We don't.
but when you get it, you get it. And you start rolling it, and then you stick with it, and then it doesn't become a job. It's fun. And I just stuck with it, and then it just.
You do an amazing job, man.
Appreciate
it. You know, when I thought about, like I've said, I've thought about hitting you. I was actually crafting messages to try to figure out how to like have these conversations because I was so wrapped up in Snowfall. And it kind of was like the same thing as I see like how, you know, like a Bray Wyatt promo or like a, you know, promotional campaign where it's like they've taken so the thing that really like drives me to Snowfall, everybody good? We need water or anything? We doing all right? The thing that really drove me to Snowfall was how well they built their characters, number one, but then number two, how well they portrayed the early 80s. Like, when those first couple of seasons, those first 3-4 seasons specifically, felt like you were literally in LA in the 80s.
South Central, yeah.
I think John Singleton... Man, bro, it took you right there. It was incredible. My girl had to stop watching Snowfall because of how real it felt to her.
Yeah.
And, you know, when I would go watch reviews or, like, I would go to see if people were connecting with it the same way that I was, I came across you and Lucas and Big Gold Belt Media, and it was like, man, all right, they get it. Yeah. You know what I mean? Where we at? We need a...
We're good.
All right. Sorry, bro. So, when you're watching your shows, right? Like when you're doing reviews, is it something that has to drive you like creatively, or when you like, does it have to be something that you're interested in?
No, not all the time.
Okay.
I mean, I think my responsibility as a film critic, because I am officially that by title.
Yes, sir.
It is my due diligence to watch things, even if I don't like it. And I haven't really gotten this criticism, but I do always try to find something positive to say. I think there's always something positive to find. I mean, hell, if you watch a football game and somebody gets blown out 0-71. I mean, what is it, 81 team roster? But somebody put in the work. Ain't all 81 folks on that team ain't show up, you know.
Right.
But it's always something to say. It's always ways to be positive about something without like having to talk shit. And that's just kind of been my sort of strategy in covering anything. So like, do I watch everything that I like? No. Do I watch everything that I feel connects to me? Absolutely not. But when I do find stuff, I mean, it just drives the passion even more. And I think, like, after a while, you start connecting, and even sometimes you get the opportunity to speak to some of these writers and directors, and they have an aesthetic. You know, you talk about Courtney Kent with Power, who I've met many times, very professionally, like on the record interviews, and sometimes even casual, just kind of kick it back and just talking. Cool. And you realize like the story of what power is very personal to her. She said it in, I'm not saying nothing that hasn't been said, but she said it in a ton of interviews. Like these are some of the things she witnessed in her life. And so when you watch the story, someone's like, that's not believable. Not, you wouldn't do that, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. But like, you're like, nah. Yeah. My family kind of wild like that too. Right, you know, right. You get these dynamics of like, you know, the aunt taking in, you know, the nephew or the cousin and raising them as if it's their son and stuff like that, like which was the element in Raising Kanan. Ghost with
Tariq.
In the Tariq show with Monet and Zeke. Yep. You know, and it's like I wouldn't do stuff like that, you know. But it's the stuff like that where it's like, I get this part of the story. I connect with this. So instead of you coming into the story like, this is unbelievable, I don't like it, this doesn't make no sense, this fake, blah, 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 you sit there and say like, somebody put their fucking pen to this paper and wrote this and said, I feel passionate about this because this comes from somewhere. And I think it is the responsible job for viewers to watch and be entertained, but also to try to get the perspective in terms of why would somebody waste their time, resources, money, all of that to do what they're doing? Period.
So there's always a story to be told that you can take from.
Listen, every single thing you do that's a passion. There's something that's generating that. No one's putting a gun to your head and say, "So, you better do that podcast tonight, bro. I'm gonna be in that lobby waiting for you." Like nobody's gonna say that.
Yeah.
You and all your homies. Like I'm down there, and you don't do this podcast today. We coming through. You know?
Right.
That shit doesn't happen. But the fact that you're hearing you do it, you say, why? Why'd you take time out of your day, set up a production, record it, produce, engineer it, produce it, and all this stuff? Why do you all do this? Because it's a passion. Because there's something about you that either always wanted to do this, that never had the opportunity, but now you're saying, I'm investing in myself, I'm going to go out there and go do it, and I'm going to make it happen. And then at the end of the night, when you put your hand on your pillow, like, God damn, we did that shit. Texting home like, yeah, we did that. We rocked out tonight because it means something to you. And when you talk about shows, writers, the ones that need to be paid, there's one that's are putting these elaborate scripts together that's getting pennies on dollars for what they do, are the ones that truly are the ones that make these good storytelling.
Yeah.
And you're like, damn, that episode was fire. Yeah, producers, directors, actors, they all get their cut, but the writers, the writers' room, the ones that get together and say, like, nah, we need not only, and like, don't forget this too, when you talk about shows like Snowfall and Power and stuff like that, not one writer's writing 8 to 10 episodes.
Right.
So you got a writer for episode 1, a new writer coming from episode 2, continuity. So you got folks not only happen to tell their perspective and their passion into the story, but also happen to connect with others as well too. It's a job that I'm wild about every single time. So like for me, it's just like when you hear these stories and when you hear certain director, and let's call it what it is. When you hear about like somebody like John Singleton, you're like, oh, John's on that? Oh, sign me up, bro. Right. I know how John gonna rock. You know, sign me up. So it's the idea that, you know, you're part of a team of somebody you know is gonna take your work and put it in a way that best represents you. Yeah. And as a fan, you're just like, well, John has a certain resume, a certain degree to him. That means that if he's on top of it, a chain of other folks not only going to acknowledge what I'm acknowledging, but they're even going to go harder because it's going to be their work. Yeah. So, like, for me, it's just the sense of just, like, when you look at the certain figures and the pieces of the puzzle put together, you're like, oh, this going to be right. Just as like Lucas and he can give me shit for the rest of forever. I fought him for about a season and a half, like Godfather of Harlem, man. I was like, man,
I love that show.
Oh man, we stretched thin, bro. We already doing this, and that. But it's one of the best shows on television, and I see why,
bruh.
I see why he was like, because like as a historian, as a history buff. I'm not a historian. I'm not gonna call myself, but as a history buff, a fake me out historian, when you get these very pivotal, iconic moments in history, especially Black history. You're talking about Johnson. Oh my God now, and Malcolm X, and and then you're getting the 3-dimensional story behind the Swish Beats, killing the soundtrack. You ain't got to watch the show to fuck with it. Yeah, you already know. It's like something like that. You know, it's like Forrest Whitaker, Bumpy Johnson,
Swiss
Beats
Beats
on it.
Yo, bro, I'm like,
I'm like, man, this show's on Epix before it became MGM Plus. Like,
Epix, yo, that's the only reason I got it.
That's what that shit.
Yeah,
Like,
you would have never known.
Like,
What do you feel? So, just based on time, what do you think? Because, bro, I really want to talk to you about these shows. I want to go. I want to do deep dive about fucking Snowfall, Godfather of Harlem, all that shit.
Yeah.
What do you feel about the strike situation?
So in
like
true solidarity of my friends, folks I've worked with, folks and their work I've always appreciated. Go get it. Don't let the big studios walk all over you. Don't let them try to take advantage of the work and the quality that not only does the fans, the audience, and your brothers and sisters is also on the lines with you all know that you deserve. This is right now because at one point it seemed like it was about money, but this is about human rights. This is just at this point now it just doesn't make sense, and like media's covering it, so you're hearing folks. These studios, Disney and Netflix, and the rebuttal to how they don't want to negotiate, which is just completely ridiculous. You got AI getting in the mix now. So writers, actors, my friends and stuff out there, go get it. Go get that money because at some point, these big studios, they're going to crumble and they're going to realize it. But their work should never be diminished for everything that they've done because they wouldn't be making those dollars if it wasn't for the work they've done. And then they deserve the best quality of life for what they do. Some of these people are barely getting by at this point.
It's terrible.
And as a critic, because I want to make this very clear because like, oh, you're still watching shows, you're still promoting shows and stuff like that. As a critic, number one, I'm not SAG, so it doesn't mean that I do not believe in what they are. I'm just to make sure we understand position and whatnot. But this isn't about the idea that folks are still watching content, reviewing content, stuff like that. Because the work is the work. This is still these people's work.
Right.
At the end of the day, so us not supporting the work that's been done is also still unbeneficial to them, especially with that. But let it be very clear that my main objective and priority is always and will always be independent film.
For sure.
So by all means, you'll see me watch a big movie, Barbie or Oppenheimer, but go look how many independent films I'm watching, how many independent directors I've spoken to. Like my thoughts and my promotions has always been to the smaller folks in the room because they do fantastic work as well, and they also deserve. And shout out to folks like Ep3 who's giving these independent filmmakers the chance they deserve. Anything, everywhere, all at once. Independent film came through, clean slate. That's the value of independent films, and hopefully that more and more folks recognize that A24 already knew, and that these folks now continue to bet on themselves because this is the results that the world, we understand that big budget and big whatever get all that promotion and whatnot, but these independent films are still top tier cinema.
They're still the top of the tier. I mean, we were talking about it like, while it's very uncertain right now, you know, who knows what's going to happen in filming for people, but it's like it's going to be
bad
could
for a
also
while.
happen too. You know what I mean? Where it's like this could also be what's necessary for the real true creativity to get exactly where it needs to go.
1,000%.
Yeah,
1,000%. I mean, you know, we and this is why I say it's all about human rights. When you think about other things that people recently fought for, you talk about Black Lives Matters, you talk about Asian Lives Matters. You know, you talk about these folks that's been oppressed or targeted for hate crimes and social injustice. You know, we get changed by standing up and speaking for ourselves, you know, and I think that this is just the same thing. While, yes, this is more with the strike and stuff, it's more of a business thing, but it is affecting folks' livelihoods as well too. So I think at the end of the day, it is about really speaking up for yourself and standing up what's right, and folks standing in solidarities for the problems 100%. And situations we see around us.
100%. And then, you know, if that don't work, hey, just go ahead and start a Tubi account, man. We gonna get these movies popping. Hey.
You don't know how bad. You don't know how bad we've been playing around with the idea of doing Tubi reviews,
bruh. I think the time is right now.
We reviewed the film. We was in San Diego after Comic-Con, and we had an Airbnb, like a beach house, and we watched this Tubi movie, and man, we had such a fun time.
Yo, we gotta get on that, bro. If you guys want to do the Tubi reviews with the mind, bro, I think that can be right where we meet, because I started my Tubi account the other day. I said, "Oh my God, it's fucking amazing!
Duh.
I'm about to roll this joint up." It just, bro. It's like
I saw this hood version of Wanted the other day. Motherfucker was behind a tree, and a person shot him, and the bullet curved. I said, "Oh no!" And it was not supposed to be an action film, but the bullet curve. I was like, "Oh my God, Tubi, man!"
Yo, bro, we definitely gotta get on that, man. Where can we catch you? What we thinking for into 2024, man? What's up for Nagier?
We got our dates for Power Book Force Season 2 is dropping Friday. The recap review is available right after it drops, 1 p.m. a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So we rocking out the entire season for Force. We just got the update that Raising Kanan returns December 1st. So we obviously there each and every week for that. And then we're coming back because we already got the date for this too. March, we come back for BMF. So you know the shows that we're really passionate about. We're back for that. We're waiting to hear what's up with Snowfall, man. The writer's strike obviously is not going to help this, but when our girl Gail Bean returns for the spinoff for Snowfall, we're obviously going to be there for that. Shout out to Gail too.
Shout out to Gail Bean, man.
Yeah.
Shout out to all of them.
She's hella cool, man.
Eamon Joseph.
Yeah.
Isaiah John. Mm-hmm. Idris Elba. Idris Damson.
Idris.
What are y'all?
You want throwing Laura Hardy? You want this throwing Laura Hardy there too?
I mean, shout out to them. Do you think that they should even do a spinoff?
1,000%.
I don't think so.
1,000%.
Can I tell you why? Can I just give you I have one principal opinion. Franklin's still alive. How can you do a spinoff in L.A. in 1990s if Franklin is actually still alive somewhere around the corner?
I said that, his well-being's not really good right now.
Well, I hear that.
But I mean, Dempsey and Idris' price went up.
I hear that too. But if he's still, I get what so with what you said, your logic earlier, which is pretty much let the writers be the writers. Go into it accepting what it is. This would be the first spinoff that I can remember where the main character of the last show is actually still alive in the same world and time frame as the spinoff, according to how they laid out that spinoff.
So you're confirming that Ghost is dead?
Well, see, that's the thing. But I am confirming that Courtney has made us think that Ghost is dead at this point.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So for me as a viewer, Ghost is dead right now.
Yeah.
If Ghost comes back, it better be the right way to bring him back. But he could be alive, but right now Ghost is dead.
Yeah.
We know Damson is alive. We know Franklin is alive. We know Leon is alive. To me, when you still have those main characters still kind of at play, even if Franklin is doing nothing with his life forever until the 2020 or whenever, it still is like I might be more intrigued. You know what I mean? Like it just makes it a little bit more, as opposed to if you cut it off and they move to somewhere else, or
and that's what it is.
Yeah.
I mean, you go with Wanda, and do they go back to Africa, which is a story and an aesthetic that I'm all for.
I would love to see that.
But I think when you talk about the similarities with Power, when you take outside of the normal story arc, I think it allows for more creative freedom for you to kind of tell different stories, more stories. Because, yes, let's not forget Snowfall is loosely inspired. So, there's just still a level of like...
Freeway Ricky Ross, right?
Yeah. Yep. There's still a level of like integrity to that.
Sure.
You want to make sure you hit certain points of that storyline. But, I mean, when you go with this, you can just do whatever you want to do. And I think that... Two things. I mean, if you ever need to pull in the care package and bring Franklin in and a little cameo, then you do it. I mean, yes. Or because Franklin, I believe Franklin's price is up.
Franklin's price is definitely.
Yeah, Damson Idris is doing some things. You saw he was just on Swarm, smacking cheeks.
It's not gonna be the same.
But I mean, he's there if they can negotiate something.
Sure.
And that's the good thing. I love open-ended storytelling where you say like, we could come back to this character if need be. He's there if he needs to. And
I just want it to be, for the viewer, it's just like people were so Franklin was Snowfall for a lot of people. And how it was and just how people were covering it, how people watched it. For me personally, it was the entire board. It's
problematic when you think Franklin was
but
the whole story.
Did you see how many people were writing for Franklin? I saw you saw it. The way you were talking to people in the comments, they were like,
yeah.
So, they were riding for Franklin.
And I've always loved Louis, and Uncle Jerome Hurt. But I mean, like, Louis has an amazing story. That still could be told too.
There's so many different ways that you could go with it. Yeah. I hope that they do it. It's just that when I think about Franklin just being alive, it's like, damn, like I don't know.
And again, you have to think. First of all, this is what I want to say. If I even got on track. FX has an amazing slate of shows that should be watched up and down the board. When I think about what FX presents, I have the utmost belief that if you do something with Snowfall as a spinoff, it has to be good. Because I honestly have not felt that that FX has put out a bad show in the last 3 or 4 years.
You watch Anarchy or the Sons of Anarchy?
It's Anarchy. What's it called? The Banner from Heaven, which was with Andrew Garfield, who Spider-Man, The Bear. What was the movie? What was the show with what's his name from The Office? But it's a bunch of shows.
Okay.
FX is rocking, and then obviously just Dave. Thank you, Atlanta, come through. Archer, come through. You know what I mean? Yeah, and they got this other show that's coming out next year. I think it's called like Samurai or something like that.
Okay.
I'm already hyped for that.
You're already on it.
Yeah.
FX
so
where to go, man? Do you have any, bro? We have. Thank you for being patient with us. Truth be told, we were about 30 minutes late today. We finally got the mind all together, back together, man. And this has been absolutely amazing. I would love to chop it up with you, damn it, every fucking week for an hour and a half. Man. But if you had any last things you want to tell the people, man, and we wrap shit.
I mean, listen, I watched the last interview, which was definitely a big plus for me wanting to come because it was a conversation, and I appreciate the flowers you give, and I want to make sure I give you and your team flowers. As I mentioned earlier, I think it's really cool, which is a lot of what my brand is. It's just wanting folks to just live out their utmost potential. I think all of us have day jobs, and maybe they pay bills, maybe they don't, maybe we hate it, maybe we love it. But I think in this media space is something that we're all passionate about. And I think if the one thing that the pandemic has taught us is that it's really time to invest in yourself. And some people may have still been dragging their feet a little bit with that, which is why I've been really echoing folks that, like, if you really want to do it, just go do it. You don't got to worry about the big professional studio or the big top-tier equipment. It just takes a collaboration with your homies, other passionate folks that all want to eat. Right. Everybody who all want to see the best for each other, and you make it happen. It doesn't matter where you at, how you do it, and so on. You make it happen. So, like, since meeting you, it was instantly that I was like, he was like, I need advice. We need to talk. I was like, for what? Like, you've already got the fire lit under you. You're going to be good. Put in the reps now, and then it's on and popping,
I appreciate you,
then you're going to be like, hey, bro. I'm like, hey, bro, can I go on the show? I'm like, man, we booked for like.
No, bro. Anytime
come through 2025, bro. I got you, bro.
Anytime, bro. We saying it right now, Karen. Anytime you want to come up, it's home. Yeah. It's home. And, bro, we appreciate you so much, man. For real. Nagier, Big Gold Belt Media. You know where the crown lies, man. Hey, and as always, be mindful. Peace.